Discover the incredible moment at my daughter's wedding, how a simple gesture turned heartwarming. Jake stood behind the cinderblock walls of his small auto shop, the air thick with motor oil and his own rising anxiety. Today, Emily, his little girl, was getting married. As he wiped his hands on a rag, he couldn't ignore the pit in his stomach, a weight made heavier by the flashy cars and glossy dresses flaunted by his in-laws. A humble mechanic surrounded by wealth, he felt smaller than the grease stains on his workbench. Just as he felt the shame creeping up his spine, he envisioned Emily walking down the aisle, radiant with joy. The dichotomy tugged at his heart, raw and painful. Would his love be enough to matter? As the wedding began, the chapel overflowed with small-town charm, sunflowers adorned pews, and laughter floated in the summer air. But with each smile from Emily, the economic pressure constricted around Jake's heart. He glanced nervously at the wealthy relatives, their polished lives glaringly different from his simple existence. Would they think less of him? Would Emily feel that weight, too? His thoughts spiraled just when he was supposed to be savoring this special moment. Before he could let the self-doubt crush him entirely, a sudden burst of commotion sent shockwaves through the crowd. Sarah, his estranged sister, thrust open the chapel doors, her face a storm brewing in a clear sky. Gasps echoed, awkward silence pooled in the air as she stepped into the room like a ghost from the past, resentment hanging from her as visibly as the lace on Emily's gown. "Jake," she shouted, her voice slicing through the happiness like a knife. The rift between them, decades wide, crashed into the cheerful ambience. Old wounds reopened, childhood memories of fights, misunderstandings, and lost connection washed over Jake like a tidal wave, pulling him back to a time when family meant everything. With the guests' murmurs fueling the tension, Jake hesitated. Emily was spinning with glee, her world full of dreams, and here stood Sarah, igniting family fractures that had festered for years. The father-daughter dance, a cherished rite, loomed just ahead. Would he disappoint Emily by addressing his past with Sarah, or would he ignore his sister, defaulting to hurt and anger? As he took Emily's hand in his, she smiled up at him, the world revolving around her joy. It should have been bliss, but the air crackled with unresolved emotions. Everything in him screamed for peace, to confront the past instead of pushing it aside. Gathering the courage, Jake turned slowly to Sarah, throwing aside judgments of social standing. "Sarah," he began, and the room held its breath, caught between shock and anticipation. Before he could finish, he took a step toward her, an act more powerful than words. "I forgive you." The gasp from the audience was thunderous, electric. The awkwardness shattered, leaving a charged space where vulnerability blossomed. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake embraced his sister, the warmth of forgiveness wrapped around them, eclipsing the doubts that had plagued him all day. For a fleeting moment, the community was united in this unexpected display of grace. But the question lingered, would this gesture be enough to heal what was broken? As music swelled and tears streamed, uncertainty draped over the celebration like a bittersweet melody. Would old grudges return to suffocate the joy, or would this be the beginning of true healing? The night teetered on the edge of hope, yet the struggle to mend lives lingered in the air, waiting for their next steps to unfold. Jake felt the weight of the moment settle in. The embrace with Sarah felt like stepping into a warm light after years of darkness. For so long, he had let resentment dictate their relationship, both in pain and in silence. But here they were, standing together, and he could feel their shared history, the highs and lows, beginning to mend in real time like a broken bone fusing together. Emily stepped back slightly, scanning the room, her sparkling eyes reflecting joy. "Daddy, can we just?" Her voice trailed as she turned to the audience, now hanging on every heartbeat, each breath, waiting for the next brush of emotion to paint the evening. "Of course, sweetheart," Jake replied, his voice steady, now resounding with a newfound energy. He quietly took a deep breath, trying to dismiss the tense energy still pulsing in the air. The wedding chapel felt alive, buzzing with chatter, but under the surface, an unsteady current lingered that he returned his gaze to Sarah, who looked equally startled and elated, as if she were seeing him for the first time in years. There was vulnerability etched into her expression, a silent plea for understanding. "I'm sorry for everything, Jake," she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't know how to fix it, just knew something was broken." "None of us are perfect, Sarah," he admitted, his heart softening further. "But maybe we can start over." The words left his lips and hung in the air, fragile yet resolute. He wondered if they would shatter again or grow stronger. From a distance, Jake spotted their mother, sitting in the corner, eyes glistening. Over the years, family fractures had kept them separated, and he could hear his mother's silent prayers, urging for reconciliation. He felt a wave of gratitude. "We need to be together, not just for us, but for the family." At that moment, Emily clasped her father's hand tighter, an anchor for his tumultuous thoughts. She stepped closer to Sarah, placing her arm around her. "Can we make it a family dance?" she asked, her voice filled with innocence and hope. Her request acted like a soft breeze that swept away lingering tensions. Jake glanced at Emily, feeling lucky that she possessed this unyielding belief that love could build bridges. "Why not? Let us celebrate the love we have, the family we can still become." The audience erupted, laughter bubbling over, and Jake could see guests encouraged to rise and join them. The dance floor transformed into an open stage, an invitation to step into the light of forgiveness and connection. As the music started a soft, heartfelt melody, Emily took the lead, dancing not just with her father, but beckoning the rest of the family forward. Sarah stood beside them, hesitant yet hopeful, adorned with tears streaked with joy. They moved as one unit, the rift slowly closing in rhythm with the beats. Yet, amidst the laughter, shadows of doubt still danced behind Jake's heart. Would this moment, this fragile unity, last beyond tonight? Would they be able to translate these emotions into everyday life, or would the past soon suffocate their new beginning? As they twirled under the soft glow of lights, Jake clung to hope, but a storm of uncertainty brewed in the back of his mind. The conversation with Sarah had opened wounds, but it had also stirred something powerful, the chance for a unified family, or perhaps even a permanent farewell to a past filled with resentment. A sudden rustle behind them caught his attention, pulling him from his thoughts. He turned his head, and everything around him froze. A familiar figure stood at the chapel entrance, eyes scanning the crowd with a mix of trepidation and resolve. The last person Jake had expected to see. His heart raced. What did this unexpected arrival mean for the family that had just begun to heal? Jake's heart raced as the intruder stepped into the soft light of the chapel. It was his older brother, Matt, a man he hadn't seen or spoken to in years. The last time they had met, emotions had boiled over. Old wounds had bubbled to the surface, tearing apart their relationship even more profoundly than the years had already done. The room hushed quickly as Matt took a cautious step forward, eyes darting from Sarah to Emily, and then back to Jake. He looked different, older, more worn down, but that familiar intensity still flared in his gaze. Jake's mind buzzed with a cacophony of emotions. Relief mingled with anxiety, a bittersweet cocktail that left his stomach in knots. "Matt." Jake finally managed, forcing the word past his tight throat. The dance floor seemed to fade away, the vibrant music softened as all eyes fixed on the newcomer. It felt like a suspension in time, where a single moment could break or mend them all. "Hey, Jake." Matt's voice trembled as he spoke, an unexpected crack that brought a flood of memories rushing back. Laughter shared, old rivalries rekindled, all the years they had wasted apart. I came late. I just wanted to see you, see Emily." The room remained tense, filled with a quiet anticipation, each eye trained on Jake's reaction. Emily tugged at his sleeve, confusion painting her face. "Daddy, is Uncle Matt here to dance with us too?" She dropped her arms, her innocent optimism hanging in the air like an unlit spark. Jake hesitated, weighing the warmth in the air against the history looming over them like a storm cloud. He didn't want to drag his daughter into the chaos, and yet a flicker of desire to bridge the gap surged within him. The impulse to greet Matt, to finally confront the chasm that had separated their family, felt like a small flame against the cold winds of resentment. "Yeah, He's here," Jake said, his voice steady as he turned to Matt. "We can talk. We can dance, if you want." A flicker of relief crossed Matt's face, and he stepped further into the room, a tentative movement toward his brother. In that instant, Jake felt the fabric of the evening shift. Sarah took a step closer to Emily, kneeling by her side. "Do you want to show us your best dance moves?" she asked, her tone lifting the mood even higher. Emily grinned, nodding enthusiastically, eager to keep love however fragile alive and flowing. Matt reached out for a moment, almost instinctively, breaking the silent air charged with uncertainty. "I'm sorry for dropping out of your lives, Jake. I made mistakes. I wasn't there when you needed me." The sincerity in Matt's voice felt like a chain beckoning Jake to respond. Memories of childhood, of brotherly bonds and shared mischief loomed over them like a tapestry unraveling but yearning to be rewoven. "Maybe we can find a way back into each other's lives," Jake replied, the words tumbling out with an urgency he hadn't expected. "We can't change the past, but we can start fresh," Matt finished, meeting Jake's gaze head-on, just as vulnerable as Sarah had been moments before. A shared understanding hung between them, like a bridge forming over a chasm of hurt. As Emily danced with Sarah, twirling effortlessly, Jake watched the two of them and felt a surge of hope. In that moment, laughter and music enveloped them, creating a cocoon of connection. But he knew that was merely the start. The shadows still lingered, questions unresolved about Matt's sudden prologue in their journey towards healing. "Are you really ready to be part of this, Matt?" Jake's heart thudded loudly in his chest. "Can we truly rebuild?" Matt took a deep, steadying breath. The answer hung there, potent and electric. Jake leaned in closer, desperate to uncover the truth behind his brother's troubled return, ready for whatever revelations lay ahead. Jake's pulse quickened as he searched Matt's eyes for the truth. Every question he'd buried rushed back. Would Matt really commit this time? The weight of their past pushed heavily against him. "Yeah. I want to be part of this really," Matt replied, but his voice carried an edge, like unsteady ground beneath him. "I've missed so much. I thought if I was out of the picture, I wouldn't hurt you anymore. But I see now." His voice trailed off, the bitterness of regret tightening around the words. Jake nodded slowly, absorbing the gravity of Matt's admission. He could feel the air around them buzz with unspoken possibilities. Emily twirled, her laughter ringing like a bell, innocent and pure, a stark contrast to the heaviness in the air. She stopped mid-spin and beamed. "Come on, Uncle Matt. Dance with me." Matt hesitated, his eyes flicking to Jake, a flicker of fear creeping in. Could he really step back into this family? Jake felt a swell of protectiveness for his daughter. He wanted Matt to be part of her life, but the memories of betrayal still echoed painfully in his heart. "Go on, Matt," Jake urged, his voice soft yet firm. "She needs to see you." "We all do." With a deep breath, Matt approached Emily, who eagerly held out her small hands. "Let us show Daddy how we do it," she proclaimed, laughter spilling from her lips as she began to dance again. As awkwardness faded, Matt found his groove, wobbling comically as Emily giggled and commanded a dance-off. The sight melted some of Jake's tension as a small smile crept onto his face. In that moment, as laughter filled the chapel, Jake felt something shift, a tiny bridge beginning to form in the aching space between him and Matt, but just as hope started weaving its way through the cracks, the music dipped into a softer tune. Sarah's expression turned thoughtful as she caught Jake's eye. "Jake, we all have places to go from here," she said, her words both a gentle reminder and a question waiting to be answered. That he shook his head slightly, unsure. The night had held promise, yet it felt fragile, as if it could shatter at any moment. "We need to really talk, Matt. Not just about dancing, but about everything else," Jake said, his voice steady but tinged with a nervous edge. Matt's face fell, shadows crossing his features. I know we do. I'm ready for whatever it takes. I need you to trust me again. A silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable, broken only by Emily's delighted squeals. Jake's heart wavered, the memory of betrayal still fresh in his mind. Could he really let go of the hurt? Could he allow Matt back into his life and Emily's? He felt torn, caught between the brother he once knew, and the brother who had shattered their bond. A gust of wind seemed to blow through the open doors of the chapel, carrying with it years of pain but also the scent of fresh starts. Jake knew a decision needed to be made, a leap into the unknown, just like Emily's dance. He couldn't let fear dictate the future, but it was difficult when the past loomed so heavily. Let us figure this out together, Jake said, the words barely above a whisper, his heart catching in his throat. But it's going to take time and I won't pretend everything is okay right away. Matt exhaled, relief flooding his features. I understand. I really do. I'm here for the long haul. As the last notes of the song lingered, Jake looked at Emily, her hopeful grin lighting up the room, and felt a glimmer of optimism. Perhaps they could rebuild. Slowly, step by careful step. But as they began to explore what that meant, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that deeper truths lay ahead. What had really driven Matt away all those years ago? What secrets still lurked in the shadows, waiting to be revealed? With a knot of anticipation in his gut, Jake braced himself. The real work was just beginning. Underneath the soft glow of twinkling fairy lights, the chapel felt like a dreamscape, but Jake's heart was wide awake. He watched as Matt tried to keep up with Emily, their laughter mingling with the music, filling the room with an innocence long dimmed by hurt. Yet Jake could not shake the lingering doubt. As the last bit of the song faded, Sarah leaned in closer, her voice a warm whisper against Jake's ear. You know, maybe you should think about opening up more about how you really feel. Her words wrapped around him, urging him to confront the shadows lingering just beyond the edges of this fragile joy. Jake's gaze drifted back to Matt, who had stopped dancing, his forehead glistening with sweat. The weight of Jake's contemplation pressed heavily on him. Could he really forgive? Let us step outside for a moment, Jake suggested, his voice steady. Emily's laughter faded as he took a few steps away from the dance floor, leading Matt out to where fresh air kissed the skin. The darkened sky spread above them like a vast canvas, punctuated by the sparkle of stars, tiny lights of hope. Once outside, the cool night air was a shock to the system. It cut through the haze of emotions, placing focus. Jake turned to face Matt, keeping his expression neutral, but his heart raced with every unsaid question. I wanted to talk about Dad, Matt began, his voice quieter now, laced with a seriousness that made Jake tense. Why now? Jake felt the defensiveness rising within him. After all this time, you want to dig up those old wounds? I thought you'd be better off without me, Matt stated, eyes sinking into shadows. But I got tired of running. Running from the past, running from you. I messed things up. I'm ready to own that. Jake swallowed hard, the memories flooding back, those late-night conversations left unspoken, the shared laughter lost to time. You broke my trust, Matt. Do you even know how much that hurt? The bitterness seeped through his words like poison. Yes. Matt cried, stepping closer. And it tears me up every day. I thought if I stayed away, I wouldn't hurt you or Emily. But I see how wrong that was. I can't change the past, but I'm here now. Just tell me how to fix this. Help me understand. Jake searched his brother's face for signs of the commitment he longed for, but doubts vibrated between them like an unsteady bridge. Do you even know what fixing this looks like? He asked, his own voice trembling with disbelief. I think it starts with honesty, Matt replied, passion igniting in his tone. I'll show you. I want to help. I refuse to go back to pretending I never cared. I'm here for you and Emily, no matter what it takes. The sincerity in Matt's eyes pierced through Jake's armor, stirring something deep within him, a faint echo of the brother he once loved. There was fragility in this moment, a chance to embrace something new. Tension hung in the air, waiting for one of them to break the silence. But just as Jake opened his mouth to respond, he spotted Emily peeking through the chapel door, her eyes bright and expectant. His heart softened at the sight of her innocent enthusiasm. "Daddy! Uncle Matt! Come back! There's cake!" Her sweet voice rang out, pulling them both out of their heavy conversation. A part of Jake wanted to remain in that space, to explore everything that had been left unsaid, but his instinct to protect Emily took over. "We'll talk later, okay?" he said, the words coming out more as a promise. "Yeah," Matt replied, relief washing over his features. "I'll be right there." As they walked back inside, Jake felt the tension between him and Matt ease, if only slightly. It was a small victory, a step toward healing that felt almost tangible. But with their discussion still unresolved, Jake couldn't fully breathe easy. What other truths lay buried between them? Were they ready to face whatever came next? As they joined the party, Jake's heart raced with anticipation and fear. Maybe tonight would reveal more than cake and laughter, but would he be ready for it? Inside the chapel, the atmosphere shifted with the sweet taste of cake, laughter, and chatter swirling around like a soft lullaby. Jake watched as Emily's eyes sparkled with delight while she dove into the confection like it was the greatest treasure. His heart swelled with affection. It was easy to forget the heaviness he carried when he looked at her. "Uncle Matt, help me with the frosting," Emily exclaimed, a sticky smile plastered across her face, her enthusiasm infectious. Matt chuckled, his earlier tension easing slightly as he kneeled beside her. Watching the two of them together, Jake couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope, but the flicker was quickly smothered by shadows of the past. Jake's thoughts drifted back to the conversation he and Matt had just stepped away from, the fragile connection they were trying to rebuild. Jake felt the weight of unfinished business. There was still so much to untangle. "Can I borrow your watch for a bit?" Emily tugged at his sleeve, interrupting his spiraling thoughts. "I want to use it with my cake and make it sparkly." He nodded, smiling despite the storm brewing inside him. "Sure, pumpkin. Just take care of it, okay?" He unclasped the watch from his wrist and handed it to her. The joy on her face melted a little of his inner turmoil. As she skipped off with Matt to display the watch, Jake excused himself from the table. He needed air again, even just for a moment. Outside, the moon hung like a silver pendant, its glow kissing the ground softly. He leaned against the chilly railing, hoping the night could guide him through his tangled emotions. The soft rustle of leaves whispered truths he had long tried to ignore. Forgiveness felt like a steep hill, daunting and distant. "Jake?" Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts, warm and comforting like a cup of hot cocoa on a winter's night. She stepped outside, her presence grounding him. "You okay?" "Just thinking," he replied, trying to maintain a calm facade. "About everything that has happened. But mostly, about Matt. Have you spoken to him?" Sarah asked softly, her eyes searching his. "We did. But the words got stuck. I feel angry, hurt, but also there's a part of me that wants to trust him again." He sighed, letting it all spill out. "He thinks honesty will fix everything. But can words change years of pain?" "Words are powerful when they come from the heart," she said softly. "Maybe you both just need time and the right moment." Jake nodded, grateful for her understanding. As they stood there, the laughter from inside blended in with the night sounds, creating a symphony of hope. "Maybe I need to try to meet him halfway," he mused, taking a deep breath. "But what if it all goes wrong again?" "Then you'll handle it," she replied firmly. "You've faced harder things than this. Just remember, you don't have to do it all in one night." Jake caught a glimpse of Emily in the distance, her laugh echoing in the night air like magic. The sight filled him with a warmth he didn't know he needed. "Yeah, you're right," he said, feeling a flicker of possibility ignite within him once more. As they moved back inside, Jake felt a renewed determination settle over him. He looked at Matt, who was leaning down to Emily again, sharing another laugh. There was lightness in the moment, a glimpse of what they could be if they dared to explore honesty, but just as Jake opened his mouth to share those thoughts with Matt, the cake fell to the floor with a splat, sending frosting flying in a burst of chaos. Emily's eyes widened, and laughter erupted from the gathered guests. The room was suddenly alive, full of joy even amidst the disaster, encouraging Jake to go with the flow. Watching the scene unfold around him, one thought persisted in his mind: maybe the path to healing could begin with laughter, even if it was messy. As he wiped the corner of his mouth where a bit of frosting had landed, a question lingered: could he truly embrace the chaos and all it represented? What would happen when the time for honesty really came? And would he be brave enough to face the truth? The laughter was contagious, creating a bubble of warmth that wrapped around Jake as he stepped back into the chaos. He watched Matt and Emily, frosting covered and laughing, a scene so innocent it tugged at something deep within him. The sweet sound of joy was exactly what he needed, but a flicker of fear crossed his mind. This moment of levity felt fleeting. Could he risk it all for a moment of real connection? As the guests began to clean up the fallen cake, Sarah squeezed his hand gently. "Look at them," she said, her voice soft but strong. "You know, moments like these are what you hold on to. They remind you what's worth fighting for." Jake nodded, his heart racing. He felt the urge to reach out to Matt to pull him close and finally talk, but doubt lingered. What if the laughter faded and all that was left was hurt? Just then, Emily wormed her way back through the crowd, eyes alight with mischief. "Uncle Jake! You should be seen it. Everything went flying." She formed her hands into a swooping motion. "Like a cake explosion." He chuckled, kneeling to meet her at eye level. "It really was a spectacle, huh?" The joy radiated off her. In that moment, the love he felt for her extinguished the fears growing inside him. "Can we make cupcakes next?" she asked, bouncing eagerly. "I want to make a rainbow one." He glanced over her shoulder, catching Matt's eye across the room. Matt still wore traces of frosting, and for a heartbeat, Jake was reminded of the childhood they shared, the laughter echoing through the backyard on summer days. "Absolutely," Jake said, forcing a smile. "But you have to promise to not use my watch this time." They both giggled, and the distant drumbeats of a song filled the room. Matt's face brightened as he approached them, wiping his hands on a napkin. "So, who's the cupcake master?" "Me," Emily declared proudly, her hands on her hips. Jake took a breath, steeling himself. This was the moment, wasn't he it? Intent poured into every word he was about to speak. "Matt, I think we need to talk. About everything." Before he could continue, a gust of wind pulled open the chapel doors, rattling the frames. A sudden chill swept through the room, and the cheerful chatter fell silent for a brief moment as everyone turned to the entrance. A stranger stepped in, silhouetted against the dim light outside. His stance was familiar yet intimidating, and an air of tension filled the space. "Is this the place for a wedding reception?" he asked, looking directly at Jake with an intensity that made him uneasy. Jake felt the rush of his previous thoughts drown under this powerful wave of uncertainty. He glanced at Matt, whose expression shifted from curiosity to alarm. Emily looked from one face to the next, confusion etched on her small features. "What is going on?" she asked, her small voice cutting through the tension. Jake's heart raced. The stranger's arrival interrupted everything, throwing him into an unexpected storm. Questions swirled in his mind. Who was this person? What kind of storm was he about to bring into their world? As the air thickened with unease, Jake locked eyes with Matt, silently asking whether this was the fateful moment they had been waiting for or just another distraction, but beneath it all, a new fear began to surface. What if this stranger was the catalyst that changed everything once again? Jake stood frozen, every heartbeat echoing louder than the last, desperate for the truth to reveal itself. Would this unexpected visitor shatter the laughter or lead to an opportunity for honesty, and more urgently, could he find the courage to navigate this new chaos? The stranger took a hesitant step inside, his eyes scanning the crowd before landing back on Jake. The moment felt charged, heavy with anticipation. Jake's pulse quickened. He could feel Matt's presence beside him, tense and uncertain, a flicker of dread passing across his face. Yeah, it is," Jake finally managed, his voice steadier than he felt. "But you're a bit early." The man raised an eyebrow, confusion mingling with something more pressing, before he stepped further into the room. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a shadow of a beard that gave him an air of ruggedness. There was something oddly familiar about him, a ghost of the past that Jake couldn't quite place. "What do you mean early? It's supposed to start in about 10 minutes. His voice held an edge, a mixture of urgency and desperation that made Jake question the importance of this moment. "Right. You must be here for Samantha." Jake tried to keep his tone light, but a knot formed in his stomach. "No, I'm not," the stranger replied, frustration evident in his voice. "I'm here for Sarah." A wave of shock rippled through Jake's chest. Sarah? She wasn't mentioned in the wedding plans. Why do you need her? Jake's voice dropped, the room spinning with new possibilities. Could this person be more than just a random guest? Meanwhile, Emily tugged at his sleeve, blissfully unaware of the tense undertones swirling around them. "Uncle Jake, who is he?" "He's just a guest," Jake said, though he barely believed it himself. Matt stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Should we just kick him out or something?" His eyes darted toward the stranger, as if expecting him to lunge at them at any given moment. "Wait," Jake said, raising a hand. "Let him talk." The stranger glanced around the room, the tension rising like steam. "I came here because I need to tell you something about Sarah." "It can't wait." Jake felt a chill travel down his spine. Suddenly, laughter seemed distant. Families, friends, and celebration melted away, leaving just the three of them in the harsh light of the chapel. "What about Sarah?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper that he could see Emily's confusion deepening. "Are we having another cake explosion?" Jake knelt down to her level, trying to shield her from the unease radiating in the air around them. "Sweetheart, stay with your dad for a moment." Matt looked back at Jake, eyes wide with concern. "Jake, you know this guy?" "I don't think so. But something feels wrong," he admitted, his heart pounding like a drum. The stranger took a deep breath, fists clenching at his sides. "You don't understand. I've come a long way to find Sarah, things aren't what they seem." His gaze intensified, searching through Jake's eyes for understanding. Inside, Jake felt his world tilt again. Matt's hand brushed against his, a grounding reminder that they were in this together. "What do you mean?" Jake pressed, desperate for a sliver of clarity in the chaos, but the moment was interrupted as laughter erupted from another part of the room. It was a haunting reminder of what was at stake, happiness on fragile ground, moments so easily lost to shadows. Jake took a step forward, his heart heavy with uncertainty. There was so much still unsaid. "You need to explain yourself," he insisted, voice firm now, ready to face whatever truth lay ahead. As the weight of the stranger's presence wrapped around them, Jake could feel the implications lurking in the air. Would this alter the course of their lives? As everyone else went about their celebrations, Jake stood on the precipice of revealing secrets long buried. Could this be the moment that shifted everything? And what storm was about to break? The tension in the room was palpable, hanging thick like fog. Jake felt that knot tightening in his stomach as he repeated the question, desperation creeping into his voice. "What do you mean, things aren't what they seem? Who are you?" The stranger's eyes narrowed, and in that moment, he appeared both vulnerable and resolute. "I knew Sarah before she changed her name. Before she ran away." He paused, as if the weight of his words hung heavily in the air. "You know her as the happy bride, but there's so much history. You deserve to know the truth." Jake glanced at Matt, whose expression had transformed from suspicion to shock and confusion. Emily, still oblivious, fiddled with a nearby wedding favor, her cheerful humming a jarring contrast to the heavy atmosphere. History? Jake echoed, skepticism lacing his tone. What are you talking about? The stranger took a small step forward, clearly gathering his thoughts. Sarah, she was never just Sarah. She was part of something bigger. A life she tried to leave behind. I came here to warn you that what she's running from is closer than you think. The crowd continued their joyous celebrations in the background. Laughter and shouts of happiness were a stark reminder of the wedding's purpose, yet Jake felt frozen, suspended in this emotional whirlwind. What could possibly chase her on a day like today? He challenged, but his instinct pulled him deeper into the stranger's story. People from her past, they don't just walk away. They're relentless, and they will come for her, the man said urgently. She might think she can start fresh, but they will find her. They always do. Jake caught a glimpse of Matt's face, grim and pale, reflecting the gravity of what the stranger was suggesting. Would Sarah's past truly cast a shadow over this day meant for joy? The implications raced through Jake's mind like a frenzied dance, each more troubling than the last. Why should we believe you? Matt interjected, stepping protectively in front of Jake. You just barged in here, a total stranger. How do we know this isn't just some sick joke? The stranger clenched his jaw, frustration flaring in his eyes. Because I care about her. I wasn't just some passing fancy, I was part of her life. I didn't want this for her. I thought it was finally over until I got wind of something, and I couldn't let her walk into a trap. Jake's heart raced, a mix of anger and concern crashing within him. And you think the best way to help her is to show up at her wedding uninvited? The stranger shook his head vehemently. No. I just wanted to protect her. I know you love her and I don't want her to get hurt. As the stranger's sincerity seeped into the space between them, Jake felt the cracks in his resolve starting to widen. Could this really be true? His memories of Sarah flooded back, her laughter, the way her eyes lit up with joy. But who was she truly beneath the surface? I need to talk to her, Jake said softly, his heart a turbulent sea of emotions. I need to know what is going on. Just then, the whispers of celebration around them faded, and a hush fell over the group as the bride stepped into view, radiant in her wedding dress. The music had begun, but in that solemn moment, everything felt suspended. Sarah's eyes sparkled as she searched for Jake among the guests, her smile bright yet somehow distant. Jake's heart clenched. What was she hiding? Could everything change in a heartbeat? He felt the weight of the stranger's gaze on him as the truth loomed, an undeniable force preparing to disrupt their perfect day. Jake, the stranger said, his voice a low tremor, if you don't confront her now, she might lose everything. And with that, a new wave of uncertainty crashed over Jake, who took the first step toward Sarah, an uncharted path opening before him. Would he uncover the truth, or would this beautiful day entangle them all in an unimaginable storm? Jake's heart raced as he stepped toward Sarah, the warmth of the celebration now feeling like a distant memory. The weight of the stranger's words clung to him like a shadow. Would confronting Sarah tear their world apart, or could it help them build something even stronger? As he approached her, his feet felt heavy, each step a reminder of the chaos that swirled just beneath the surface. Sarah, he called gently, forcing a brave smile as she turned, eyes wide with anticipation. Her radiant beauty, the glowing bride in all her glory, almost made him falter. But the urgency kept him moving. I need to talk to you. Now. A flicker of confusion crossed her face, but she nodded, stepping closer. Jake, what's wrong? In that moment, the external chatter dimmed into nothingness. It was just the two of them, locked in a bubble of unspoken feelings, past hurts, and fresh wounds. He looked deep into her eyes and saw flashes of fear and determination, even as she wore a smile meant for joy. It's about your past. Someone just came in, claiming you might be in danger, he stated, his voice steady yet laced with concern. The briefest glimpse of panic flickered through her eyes before she regained her composure. "Who?" she asked, biting her lower lip and glancing around as if expecting someone to materialize from the crowd. "A stranger. He said he knew you before you became Sarah. He's saying you're being hunted by something you thought you escaped." Jake felt the tension suffocating the air around them. He was torn between wanting to protect her and fearing the truth could lead to destruction. Her breath hitched, the light in her eyes dimming slightly. "Jake, I promise I've put that life behind me," she replied, her voice trembling. But within her words lurked the hint of a storm that threatened to break free. He could sense the weight of her past pressing down upon her like a heavy mantle. "Then we need to talk to him," Jake urged, his determination solidifying. "You can't run away from this, Sarah. You deserve to confront it. We deserve to face it together." "Together," she echoed, the word rolling off her tongue as if it ignited something within her. Her hands trembled at her sides, and for a heartbeat, Jake wished for nothing more than to shelter her from the truth, but he knew he had to be her anchor. Just then, the stranger approached, tension radiating through every feature of his face, worry etched deep in the lines. "Sarah," he said, his voice calm but urgent. "You have to understand I only came here because I care. There are people looking for you." As if on cue, the celebration around them dipped into a whispering silence, the reality of the words washing over everyone present. The mood shifted sharply, laughter replaced with uncertainty. Guests exchanged glances, anxiety creeping in like an unwanted guest. "Why do you keep following me?" Sarah's voice rose, a blend of anger and fear marking her tone. "I've moved on. I made a life for myself away from that wreckage, away from you. It's not just about you anymore, Sarah." His voice tightened, remorse mixing with resolve. "They're coming for you because you chose to leave. You're past one to let you go that easily. That's why I had to warn you." Feeling the weight of the situation, Jake reached for Sarah's hand, squeezing it tightly, grounding her amid the whirlwind. "I'm here, whatever it is," he reassured her, staring deep into her eyes. The connection between them was powerful, a fierce bond encompassing everything they had gone through. Emily's voice piped up from the side, pulling everyone's attention and eliciting a soft giggle in a moment that felt dangerously poised. "Are we going to have cake or what?" Jake felt a mix of gratitude and urgency. He loved that her innocence could break any tension, but now their entire reality shifted on whether they could address the fear lurking in the shadows. "Let us get some air," he suggested, not wanting to let go of Sarah's hand. "We'll figure this out." As they stepped outside the chapel, the night air felt electric, as if the universe held its breath. The moon cast soft shadows, revealing the weight of unfinished business. "Sarah," Jake began, his voice low and steady. "You need to trust me now more than ever. We're family, they're family, and we can't face this alone." Tears shimmered in her eyes as she nodded slowly, fear mingled with the promise of hope. "You're right," she whispered. "Together." They turned toward the stranger, resolute. Jake felt resolve swell in his chest. This was their moment, a chance to reclaim what had been lost. They would face it together or not at all. As they stepped back into the chapel, Jake took a breath, prepared to fight for Sarah and for their family. With one determined nod to the stranger and the chaos behind them, a subtle pressure finally lifted. The past might always linger, but with every heartbeat, there was hope. They could build a bridge to a future filled with light and laughter, even if it meant wading through the shadows first. And as laughter erupted once more from within the chapel walls, Jake understood the importance of love, family, and connection. This was their battle to win. Now it was time to rise. They would make it through, together. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories revealing transformative journeys like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment below your reactions to this ending and share how you would face your shadows. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans truly understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions.